Hello, everyone, and welcome to another live stream here on the channel for the Black Hood Crew. I am back from my vacation, so welcome. Black Hood Crew, YouTube and Facebook. My name directly, Twitch, Twitter, Steam, Trovo, TikTok, Instagram. So welcome to Monday. It is May 29th of 2023, and I'm on my way to work. It is a mostly cloudy day, nothing overly dark, but there is plenty of overcast. So we'll see if it actually rains, but again, we'll see. I got back into town yesterday in the afternoon, about 2-ish. I had little all of any time to get my stuff out of the truck, into the house, to then shower, get ready for work. So today, we're back on normal streaming schedule. So expect streams every day this week, except for Saturday. But I will be on this week, Monday, Tuesday. Episodes of me driving to work, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. From home, starting with Wednesday, Apex Legends. Thursday, depending on if I get invited back to the Overrated podcast. If not, I will be playing Among Us VR. So look out for that. And Friday, depending on who's available, I'll be playing either Fortnite or World War III. So again, plenty to look forward to this week as I am back in town, ready to go. Let's go, lady. Come on. So I gotta tell you, man, the more I play it, the more I am fully convinced The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is Game of the Year 2023. There's no ifs, ands, buts about it. Just from a gameplay standpoint, there is nothing out there like it. Yes, the combat system is very similar, pretty much exactly the same as Breath of the Wild. But with the introduction of these new abilities, it completely changes the game. Like, you can down an entire enemy camp. Even the strongest of enemies would not be able to stop you if you just have the right imagination and the right amount of items necessary. Yes, I have seen people make flying death machines that down even world bosses in seconds. But Coblin camps completely destroyed, decimated in moments. I've seen people create flying machines that not only shoot lasers, but on top of that, these lasers have auto tracking, so they'll directly point at enemies and just laser them until they stop moving. Then we'll take it one step further, and for the ones that the lasers don't immediately kill off, it's shooting bombs and continuously shooting bombs, just as long as you have the appropriate battery power. It's ridiculous. I've seen walking mechs, cars, like actual cars with headlights and everything, all-terrain vehicles, speed vehicles, aquatic vehicles. I saw a boat that someone made for the distinct purpose of catching fish wherever the boat is launched. It uses those same laser head items to shoot at fish in the water, the dead fish floats to the surface, and then it actually has like a V shape in the front, built specifically for this reason, to catch the fish. I'm like, there's no possible way. Yes, there is. There is a way, and it's been done. It's being done. I'm telling you, man. The TikToks, the YouTube videos, everybody is just praising this thing up and down. Now, that's just from a gameplay standpoint. Like, the maps, forget it. You have where Breath of the Wild only gave you one map you needed to unlock. Tears of the Kingdom gives you 3. Now, mind you, the world of Hyrule, the actual surface area of Hyrule, which used to be the map of Breath of the Wild, many areas are similar as it was in the previous game. And by similar, I mean almost exactly the same, with little changes here and there. Extra building here, maybe a location moved here, but otherwise the map is relatively unchanged until you actually start going through it. Now, I play Breath of the Wild back and forth, and in playing Tears of the Kingdom, I feel lost. Absolutely lost. As someone who should know this map, I'm playing it, and I'm like, where the hell is everything? I'm completely lost. So that just goes to show that you can take something that is already established, already known, and change it enough where you can still surprise even seasoned players. It's crazy. The multiple ways to traverse the world. I mean, horses are back, and they're great. You now have the ability, if you unlock it, to use your horse to pull equipment. You can pull a carriage. You can pull essentially whatever the hell you want. Like, there's nothing stopping. You can pull anything. You just got to attach it to the pole arm that's attached to the saddle, and then giddy up. Now, back to the maps. I will tell you that, yes, although the Hyrulean map, the actual surface world, is still relatively the same, but still very different from before, the Sky Islands is an entirely new map. Now, you would think, oh, well, the Breath of the Wild map was huge. That means Tears of the Kingdom map is huge, and you are correct. But that doesn't mean that the sky is just littered with these islands. It's actually filled with islands in the form of archipelagos. Now, if you don't know that term, an archipelago is a grouping of islands that exist close enough together. Like areas of the Caribbean here in the Western Hemisphere would be considered archipelagos because they're groups of islands joined together. Japan, not only is mainland Japan, but also the surrounding islands, that's also considered an archipelago. Just a very large one, but still the name still applies. So you can imagine that concept in the sky. You have these islands grouped together, and they're grouped in archipelagos. Now, because of the nature of this game is not only do you have, your forward side-to-side movement, but you also have the Z-axis, your up and down, and by a great distance. So not only do you have a series of islands that you can see just by looking out over the edge and see the next island over, you can also see islands below you and definitely above you. In fact, I was playing when I went to take on the first area. I'm not going to say anything more than that. For storyline mission, I had to literally scale a series of islands that just continually spiraled upwards. The way I traversed them, the way I scaled them, changed. Some islands I can quickly hop over to the next one. Others I had to glide across, and others I had to literally climb straight up. And this is starting from the surface world. So I'm literally standing on solid ground, look up, and then immediately find a way up to the lowest island, and then just start climbing upwards. By the time I reached the top, and this is physics, by the way, the air was so cold that at the time, even the amount of, Jesus, you idiot squirrel. Jesus. Anyway, by the time I got up there, the clothing that I had, which did well on the surface in terms of staving off the cold, couldn't help me. It was so cold up there. So I had to continuously cook up meals that would keep me warm. So I did. And with that, I was able to complete that area and continue from there. So yeah, I gotta tell you, it's great to play this game and see so much that I recognize, but at the same time get bombarded with so much new that it really does feel like a completely different game. An actual sequel. And for anybody out there that is still giving crap to Tears of the Kingdom, calling it a $70 DLC, you are without a doubt absolutely full of crap. Simple as that. Because until you play it, that's going to be your mindset. But the moment you play it, the game's over. You're going to be like, damn, not only is this worth $70, it's sure as hell not a DLC. The amount of content, the amount of things that have changed between Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom does not warrant that mentality, that kind of negativeness. And we haven't even gotten to the depths. So the depths is an entirely new area like the Sky Islands, but instead of it being above Hyrule, it is below Hyrule. And by below, I mean like really far below. So at the start of the game, and we've seen this all in the previews, I'm not spoiling anything, we see the revival of Ganondorf. And his first order of business is to raise Hyrule Castle into the sky. When that happened, these chasms opened all over Hyrule. Basically giant holes in the ground with this stuff called gloom spilling out of it. Now, these holes directly lead down to the depths. So, it's great because you have this whole other map that is just filled with things. First and foremost, it's pitch black down there. Like, there is literally no light aside from what light you can bring with you from the surface. And by that, I mean these plants. There's two kinds, small ones and big ones, but they both do the same thing. Tossing these items cause them to generate light. Obviously, the smaller ones generate a small amount of light, big ones, larger area. They illuminate the area around you. And you got to bring plenty of this stuff. Thankfully, in traversing Hyrule, You find plenty of them. You find plenty of them in caves, which again is an entirely new areas that you can go to. And this is on the surface. This isn't even like, oh, you have to go down to the depths to find caves. No. You can literally, all around Hyrule, there's caves that you can now enter. Some of them are short. Some of them are maybe 1-2 chambers at most. Others just keep going, and it's crazy. Like, you can literally move, depending on which cave you enter and where you entered it from, you can move underneath an entire mountain, underneath an entire town, or where you exit, pop up somewhere you never thought you'd end up. So it's great. Now, the cave system is also where they bring in the well system. Now, if you remember Breath of the Wild, you would go to major settlements as well as destroyed settlements, like ruined buildings and stuff like that, and you would find wells. Now, before, the wells were relegated to just, they fit the aesthetic, that's why they're there. Occasionally in Breath of the Wild, there would be like a Korok thing attached to that particular well. This time, however, you can enter every well and go down below. Some, again, are just one chamber, maybe two, and they're really just an area for you to find items, weapons. Sometimes there's characters down there. Sometimes there's storyline elements down there. But they've expanded that. So now you have even more places to explore. Like, again, I'm getting lost all the time. Even with a fully unlocked map now, I am still getting very lost. Like, I'm ending up in places I didn't thought I would end up. There's so many things that you can do, so many things you can chase down. And the enemy variety, forget it. Where before you would only have, your bokoblins, their variants, moblins with their variants, the Zalfos with their variants, Keese and their variants. And then you had the world bosses like the Hinox, Taluses, and the Lynels, along with the nighttime one, the Stalnox. Stal enemies are back as well. But now they've doubled up everything. So now there are more varieties of enemies and world bosses. You now have new enemy types, both terrestrial and flying. And don't even get me started on the Gloom variant of every enemy, which are just souped up. And of course, those you can only find down in the depths, as well as a new world boss that can only be found down in the depths called a Frox. Now, from what I've seen, because I have not fought one of these things before, is the Frox is basically a giant mutated Gloom frog. Hence the name, Frox Frog. I saw a guy in a TikTok see a Frox. He hopped on his flying machine and took off, and he thought, oh yeah, I'm in the air, I'm safe, it can't hit me. And then the Frox jumped, knocked him off of his vehicle, and engaged in battle. So yeah, there is plenty out there. There's also another new world boss specifically for the Sky Islands called the Flux Construct. Now, if you ever remember, there was a game on the Sega Genesis, talk about a long time ago, Sega Genesis, called Gunstar Heroes. Now, Gunstar Heroes is one of my favorite Sega games, along with Sonic and some others as well. But Gunstar Heroes is a great game. It's a side shooter similar to like Metal Slug Contra, like that type of game, right? There is a boss that you fight, and it's not even a main boss. It's a mini boss that you fight in Gunstar Heroes in the first level. We'll call it the first because you can pick your levels, but the green level. Where are you going? In the green level. So in the green level, you're just gonna run a red light. Okay, cool. You do that. You fight this boss, but this boss is made up of blocks. And it can rearrange itself to be either taller, shorter. It can spin itself around, move its parts independently, but it was made up of cubes. Well, the flux constructs in Tears of the Kingdom are essentially that. They're a bunch of cubes that are linked together that form the construct. Now, only one of them is a control cube, and you can pretty much pick it out. It's the green one with the bright lights. So it's not overly difficult to figure out how the hell you defeat this thing. But there are variants of the constructs, construct 1, 2, and 3. They just get stronger as the levels go up. I personally have not fought any, but I will now that I'm getting better at the game. I'm getting more in tune with how this game plays, with the use of the abilities. It does make certain battles a little bit easier and make them more of like just a battle against time. Like, for instance, a talus, a stone talus, like every other version of the talus, including all the variants, is literally just a hunking block of stone with other stones attached as limbs, and they basically float there, and it's basically like a magical stone construct or anything else. One of its main attacks is that it'll take an arm and just chuck the giant stone at you, and it'll fly right at you. Now, in Breath of the Wild, the best that you can do and hope for is dodge accordingly. That was it. This time, however, with the ability called Recall, you can freeze the stone in the air and send it right back to him. The impact of the stone onto the talus causes it to be stunned, exposing its weak point and allowing you to deal damage. As long as you are quick on the trigger button and understand the ability Recall, the stone talus fights and all the variants thereof become a piece of cake. Now, don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of times that you can be overwhelmed by a talus. Like, I had this problem with an Igneo talus. An Igneo talus is basically the fire variant of a stone talus. The stone it's basically just a walking block of semi-solid magma that fights you. So, in fighting this thing, I've plenty of times had to I've had to basically think very quick because, like, one, the Igneo talus, you only fight it in hot areas. So first of all, you have to have the appropriate equipment or potions or elixirs to survive the heat. But then that puts you on like a timer, and it's tough. But it also has this exploding move where if you're too close, the shockwave will hit you, knock you back, deal damage, all that good stuff. So you basically are keeping your distance and returning the stones back to the talus to then get close and deal damage. Personally, I never bothered with that. I would, if possible, of course, knock it out with a recall of its own stone back. I would fire bomb arrows into its weak point. And by bomb arrows, I mean literally take bomb flower, attach the arrow, fire. Because now there's no more arrow variants. You have arrows and stuff you can attach to arrows using the fuse ability, which is great because you can also fuse stuff to your shield and sword or weapon and give unique abilities that would not have been thought of in Breath of the Wild. So it's great. I'll go ahead and continue with my continued glorified review of Tears of the Kingdom tomorrow at 3:30ish. I will be back here, another stream here on the channel for the Black Hood Crew, YouTube and Facebook, Black Hood Crew, my name directly on Twitch, Twitter, Steam, Trovo, TikTok, Instagram. So until tomorrow, be safe, be smart, and be excellent to each other.